Hey everyone, we had a great Sunday with Noel Robinson, our guest worship leader, here with us. We want to just make a big apology to those who wanted to join us online on Sunday. We had a power cut about 45 minutes before the service started, and it meant that we weren't able to stream our service. We barely had any power in the building at all, but we had enough to run the service in the building. But unfortunately, we weren't able to go online. And I wanted just to take a few minutes to recap an important message that we brought to everyone who was in the room on Sunday, because we kick-started a brand new series that we've called Consecration. That's not a new term to us. We are familiar with that. We looked at that in 2024, and that understanding that we're a consecrated people, set apart for the purposes of God. And over these next few weeks, during our 21 days of prayer and fasting, which we now have kick-started this week, and just connecting with God, disconnecting from the world, giving space for God to speak and to move in our hearts. I want to just take a few minutes just to share with you a bit of a recap from some of the things that we shared together on Sunday as we kickstarted this conversation around consecration. You see, we're all on a journey of following Jesus, and every single one of us are at different places on that journey. One of the great privileges, passions of my heart is to lead you on that journey, to help everybody take their next step in the things of God, that we would grow and discover the more that God has for us, not just the more of what you already have, but the new more, the immeasurably more, the more than we could ever ask or imagine that God has for you, particularly as we think about embarking on a brand new year and all that is ahead of us in 2025. There's an amazing passage in Mark chapter 8, starting in verse 27 through to verse 38. And Jesus, it says in verse 27, it says, Jesus was taking his disciples to a village called Caesarea Philippi. Now, you would kind of just skip on by that and think, well, that's just a bit of interesting detail. But there is so much in that, because Caesarea Philippi, it had a reputation, a big reputation. It was like the kind of red light district of its day. It was full of pagan worship and idols, and everything the world had to offer was there in that location. And Jesus intentionally takes the disciples there. And as he takes them there, he asks them a profound question. And it's a question I believe that he's asking you and me in 2025. Who do you say I am? Who do you say I am? And that's a question that only you can answer. And when you decide who Jesus is, we have to ask, is he where he ought to be? Is Jesus where he ought to be in my life? And Jesus begins to challenge them and take them on this journey of recognizing, what does it mean to be a follower of Jesus? A consecrated follower of Jesus, set apart for the purposes of God, for the things of God, and for his kingdom. Now, on this journey of faith, every single one of us, we're all at different stages. Whether you've been following Jesus for 5 minutes or 25 years, we're all on this journey, and we're all at different stages. But you see, there are some, for want of a better term, there are some landmarks that we can go on in terms of this journey, identifying where we are on the faith journey, but also that invitation to the next step. And there are four landmarks I really quickly just want to tell you about. The first one is the crowd. And the message to the crowd was come and see. Jesus was constantly surrounded by crowds who followed him wherever he went. He had to have moments when he tried to get away from the crowd, because wherever he went, they followed. But you see, they followed Jesus for what they could get from Jesus. Feed me, Jesus. Heal me, Jesus. And Jesus, there were times when he responded to that, and he fed them and he healed them, and he kind of created moments when he ministered to the crowd. And as a church, that's what we want to do. We create moments where we communicate to those who are far from God the message of God. And if you're in that place right now where you're kind of figuring out, what does it mean to follow Jesus? You're part of a crowd, and you're kind of coming and seeing, do I believe this? What do I want to know more about this? I want to just say you are so welcome on this journey. But I also want you to know there's more for you. Because you see, the second landmark is not just necessarily come and see, but it's come and join us. It's the family. It's being part of something bigger. Whenever you go to somebody's house for dinner, you go, you knock on the door, you eat the food, you enjoy the company, and at the end of the evening, you leave, and the family are left to do the washing up. Why? Because they're part of the family. They live in that house. There's responsibility when it comes to family. And that's the same with us. Now, there are two levels to family, and the first level is it's not about church or LGCC, it's about the family of God. That when we follow Jesus, we belong to this great big family called the family of God. I love the way the Apostle John puts it. He says that when we choose to believe and we choose to accept, we become children of God. That's the invitation for every single one of us. And then we get to plug into local church. And there are so many great local churches, but we got to plug into a place where we can grow and serve and give and be part of the things of God in that place. Then the third landmark is disciple. It's that big word that Jesus chooses to use to describe followers, people who are committed to him. And he has this message to them: come and grow. Don't just join, but grow. That every year of following Jesus, that we would become more mature. In fact, that's what the Christian faith is. It's about growing in maturity. It's not just about one day that we would arrive in heaven and get our ticket stamped and we spend eternity with that. That's great. But actually, it's about here and now we can grow and mature. That we can make mature decisions. Mature in our prayer, mature in our conversation with Jesus, mature in our serving and the things happening around us, and that we get to do that. I believe that this year is an invitation for us to grow in maturity, to grow in the things of God. And for some of us, the way that we grow takes us to the fourth landmark, and that is to minister. That we would come and serve, that we would play our part, we would move from spectators to participators, that we would realize that what happens isn't all about me, but it's an opportunity for me to contribute and to play my part. And so those are the four landmarks. I wonder where you are. Are you in the crowd? Are you part of the family? Are you a disciple? Are you ministering? Identify where you are, and what does the next step look like for you as we step into this brand new year? Now, all the roads lead to one place. And that's really the message of consecration. Because ultimately, and this is what Jesus teaches in Mark chapter 8, it's about us surrendering ourselves, our agendas, our way, our thinking for the things of God. That I don't exist to serve me. I don't exist for my kingdom, but I exist for his kingdom, his ways. And over these next 21 days together, I believe as we connect with God, as we disconnect from the world, as we give God that space and that time, that there are some things within us that need to die, that need to surrender, in order that God can step in and we worship him in the fullness that he has given us to do that, creating space for God to move in and through our hearts and lives throughout this year. Church, God bless you this week as we journey together through these